The following is an interview with the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, shot February 6, 2024. The interview, as you will see if you watch it, is primarily about the war in progress, the war in Ukraine, how it started, what's happening, and most pressingly, how it might end. One note before you watch. At the beginning of the interview, we asked the most obvious question, which is, why did you do this? Did you feel a threat, an imminent physical threat? And that's the justification. The answer we got shocked us. Putin went on for a very long time, probably half an hour, about the history of Russia going back to the 8th century. And honestly, we thought this was a filibustering technique and found it annoying and interrupted him several times. He responded, he was annoyed by the interruption. But we concluded in the end, for what it's worth, that it was not a filibustering technique. There was no time limit on the interview. We ended it after 2 hours. Instead, what you're about to see seemed to us sincere, whether you agree with it or not. Vladimir Putin believes that Russia has a historic claim to parts of western Ukraine. So our opinion is to view in that light as a sincere threat. That?
Warning, no atmosphere detected.
Get out of the way!
On February 22nd, sounds paranoid. Tell us why you believe the United States might strike Russia out of the blue. How did you conclude that?
Дело не в том, что it's not that America the United States was going to launch a
Thank you. It's a wonderful series.
In 1862, Russia celebrated but there is a memorial dedicated to the same language then, after the baptism, the same way the centralized Russian state began to occupation and the end of Rus. There was nothing special about it. The same was happening then in Europe.
With you among us, equipping us for the coming battle, our soldiers will
But the
take
fragmented
heart.
Russian state became an easy prey to the empire created earlier by Genghis Khan. His successors, namely Batu Khan, came to Rus, plundered and ruined nearly all the cities. The southern part, including Kiev, by the way, and some other cities, simply lost independence, while northern cities preserved some of their sovereignty. They had to pay tribute to the horde, but they managed to preserve some part of their sovereignty. And then a unified Russian state began to take shape with its center in Moscow. The southern part of Russian lands, including Kiev,
Come here! Let me shoot you!
the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. It was even called the Lithuania because Russians were a significant part of this population. They spoke the old Russian language and were Orthodox. But then there was a unification,
Did you scratch the
union of
paint?
the Grand Duchy of Lithuania and the Kingdom of Poland. A few years later, another union was signed, but this time already in the religious sphere. Some of the Orthodox priests became subordinate to the Pope. Thus, these lands became part of the state.
Lock and load.
During decades, the Poles were engaged in Polonization of
Later,
this part of
Vault
the
Hunter.
population. They introduced their language there, trying to entrench the idea that this population was not exactly Russians. That because they lived on the fringe, they were Ukrainians. Originally, the word Ukrainian meant that a person was living on
Don't
the
get
outskirts of the state, along the fringes, or was engaged in a border patrol service. It didn't mean any particular ethnic group. So the Poles were trying to, in every possible way, to colonize this part of the Russian lands and actually treated it rather harshly, not to say cruelly. All that land, this part of the Russian land, rights. They wrote letters to Warsaw demanding that their rights be observed and people be control of the authority in that part of the Russian lands. Addressed Warsaw, I repeat, demanding that they send them to rulers of Russian origin and Orthodox faith. When Warsaw did not answer them, and in fact rejected their demands, they turned to Moscow, so that Moscow took them away. So that you don't think that I'm
It doesn't sound like you're mentioning it. I'm not sure why it's relevant.
the man who then controlled
Yahoo!
the Russian lands.
Watch as we observe the rare and beautiful clappy
They wrote
bird.
to Warsaw demanding that their rights be upheld. After being refused,
Look
they
out
began to write letters to
below!
Moscow, asking to take them under the strong hand of the Moscow Tsar. They insisted on that. After the 1917 revolution, Hitler offered Poland peace and a treaty of friendship. An alliance
Watch as we observe the
Germany
rare and beautiful
give
puppy
back
bird.
Germany the so-called dancing turtle, which connected the bulk of Germany with East Prussia and Königsberg. This territory was transferred to Poland, and instead of Danzig, the city of Danzig emerged.
Let me ask you,
If I had faith, I'd be popping out right now. Ooh.
Demands still participate too by attacking them. Why
Dang
was
it,
it
I'm
Poland
out.
against whom the war started on 1st September 1939? Poland turned out to be uncompromising, and Hitler had nothing to do but start implementing his plans with Poland. Wait, USSR behaved very honestly. It asked Poland's permission to transit its troops through the Polish territory to help Czechoslovakia.
Move out and try not to die
But
again,
the
maggot. These things are
Foreign Minister
expensive.
said that if the Soviet planes flew
Guns,
over
guns,
Poland,
guns.
they would be downed over the territory of Poland.
I always fight.
But that doesn't matter. What matters is that the war began, and Poland fell prey to the policies it had pursued against Czechoslovakia, as under the well-known Molotov-Ribbentrop.
You want to save on the moon?
Part
Maybe
of
it's
the
a place for you.
territory, including western Ukraine, was to be given to Russia. Thus, Russia, which was then named as USSR, regained its historical names. After the victory in the Great Patriotic War,
Yeah.
as for Poland, it received apparently in compensation for domains which had originally been German. The eastern parts of Germany, these are now western lands of Poland.
Ну, естественно, и опять вернули
Of course, Poland regained access to the Baltic Sea and Danzig,
Данциг, который опять стал называться.
which was once again given its Polish name.
Вот таким образом сложилось.
So this was how this situation developed.
формирование Советского Союза уже 1900.
In 1922, when the USSR was being established,
Большевики начали формировать
the
СССР.
Bolsheviks started building the USSR and established the Soviet Ukraine, which had never existed before.
Right.
Который до сих пор вообще не существовал. При этом Сталин
Stalin insisted that those republics be included in the USSR as
входили в качестве автономных
autonomous entities.
Основатель советского государства Ленин настоял.
For some inexplicable reason, Lenin, the founder of the Soviet state, insisted that they be entitled to withdraw from the USSR. And again, for some unknown reasons, he transferred to that newly established Soviet Republic of Ukraine some of the lands together with people living there, even though those lands had never been called Ukraine, and yet they were made part of that Soviet Republic of Ukraine. Those lands included the Black Sea region, which was received under Catherine the Great, and which had no historical connection with Ukraine whatsoever. 1654, when the territory was the subject of regions of modern Ukraine.
Loading combat packages!
That was
I got a pistol ready! In your face! Pumpkin!
deal of territory that had never belonged to, including the Black Sea region. At some point, when Russia received them as an outcome of the Russo-Turkish Wars, they were called New Russia or Novorossiya. But that does not matter. What matters is that Lenin, the founder of the Soviet state, established Ukraine that way. For decades, the Ukrainian Soviet Republic developed as part of the USSR. And for unknown reasons again, the Bolsheviks were engaged in Ukrainianization. It was not merely because the Soviet leadership was composed to a great extent of those originating from it. Rather, it was explained by the general cultures. Ukraine received, in addition to the lands that had belonged
Look out, everybody! Danger about to get awesome! I'm invisible!
taken away and given to the Soviet Ukraine.
It's mighty mighty danger time!
So in this sense,
Building! That's about what you Ammo reserves are spent! Somebody for this? I'm gonna go take advantage! Like running over a bug!
they should move back to the 60s.
Carbon soak increased!
But given Stalin's time, so-called Stalin's regime, as many
Less fireworks!
other states.
В этом смысле,
They say that they could claim those lands of theirs. It is at least
Who told Viktor Orban that are part of Ukraine?
never. I have never told him, not a single time.
у нас даже нет еще таких разговоров. Но мне достоверно
We have not even had any conversation on that, but I actually know for sure that Hungarians who live there
они, конечно, хотят вернуться на свою историю.
wanted to get back to their historical land.
Интересную историю, отвлекусь.
Moreover, I would like to share a very interesting story with you.
Значит, где-то в начале
I digress, it's a personal one.
из,
Somewhere in the early 80s, I went on a road trip in a car from then Leningrad across the Soviet Union through Kiev,
выехал
made a stop in Kiev, and then went to western Ukraine.
название города.
I went to the town of Beregovoye, and all the names of towns and villages there were in Russian and the language I didn't understand, in Hungarian, in Russian and in Hungarian. Not in Ukrainian, in Russian and in Hungarian. I was driving through some kind of village and there were men sitting next to the houses and they were wearing black three-piece suits and black cylinder hats. I asked, are they some kind of entertainers? I was told, no, they were not entertainers, they were Hungarians. I said, what do you mean? This is their land, they live here. This is during the Soviet time. Hungarians and all their
Burn them, my mini Phoenix!
So there's a lot of
Who's there?
That's what got me. Is that fair?
You crazy young whippersnappers!
I understand. Going to have a serious talk for a show. You said serious talk. Bear with me. We're coming to the point where the Soviet Ukraine was established. Then, in 1981, the Soviet Union collapsed. Everything that Russia had
Punch him in the face, mini trap!
away from the ladder.
Here I come to sweep him!
Coming to a very After all, the collapse of the Soviet Union was effectively initiated by the Russian leaders. I do not understand the Russian leadership was guided by. I suspect there were several behind. First, I think that then Russia fundamentals every 30 seconds there.
Round and round she goes! Hack the planet! Just point me in the right direction!
Look at that stalker wing! Gonna be sick when we get it on the rocket!
All of these are so fundamental.
Not until you're older!
These things together make our video. The second thing is a
Who's there? Who's there? Wahoo! You make my day! Your destiny!
The former Russian leader assumed that the Soviet Union had existed, and therefore there were no longer any dividing lines. The Soviet Union, and believed that this would be under the so-called civilizations as an invitation for cooperation and association. Russia was expecting both from the United States and as a whole. There were smart people, including Germany. Egon Bahr, a major politician of the Social Democratic Party, who insisted in his personal conversation with the Soviet leadership on the brink of the collapse of the Soviet Union that a new security system should be established in Europe. Help should be given to unify Germany, but a new system should be also established to include the United States, Canada, Russia, and other Central European countries.
Yes.
But NATO needs not to expand. That's what he said. If NATO expands, everything will be just the same as during the Cold War. The lies of men. again. Everything happened as said.
America thought that relations between Russia and the United States would be fine. You've never explained why.
The West is afraid of strong China more than it fears a strong Russia. Because Russia has 150 million people and China has 1.5 billion population. Its economy is growing by leaps and bounds, or 5% a year. It used to be even more. But that's enough for China. As Bismarck once put it, potentials are the most important. China's potential is enormous. It is the biggest economy in the world today in terms of purchasing power parity and the size of the economy. It has already overtaken the United States right a long time ago, and it is growing at a rapid rate. Let's not talk about who's afraid of whom. Let's not use it in terms. Let's get into the fact after 1991, when Russia expected that it would be welcomed into the brotherly family of civilized nations, nothing like this happened. Trick this. I don't mean you personally when I say you. Of course, we're talking about the United States. The promise was that NATO would not expand eastward, but it happened 5 times. There were 5 waves of expansion. We tolerated all that. We were trying to persuade them. We were saying, please no, we are as bourgeois now as you are. We are market economy, there is no communist party. Let's negotiate. Moreover, I have also said this publicly before.
Был момент, когда
There was a moment when
серая кошка пробежала.
a certain rift started
Perhaps I should
growing
test one
between us.
first.
Помните уступ?
Before that, Yeltsin came to the United States. Remember, he spoke in Congress and said the good words. God bless America. Everything he said was secrets. Let us in. Remember the developments in Yugoslavia before that Yeltsin was lavished with praise? As soon as the developments in Yugoslavia started, he raised his voice in support of Serbs, and we couldn't but raise our voices for Serbs in their defense. I understand that there were complex processes underway to do it, but Russia could not help raising its voice in support of Serbs, because Serbs are also a special close to us nation, with Orthodox culture and so on. It's a nation that has suffered so much for generations. Well, regardless, what is important is that Yeltsin expressed his support. What did the United States do? In violation of international law and the UN Charter, it started bombing Belgrade. It was the United States that let the genie out of the bottle. Moreover, when Russia protested and expressed its resentment, what was said? The UN
I need some
Charter and
stalker blood as
international law
lubricant.
have
Gonna be
become
gross. So hyped. The stalker exam table's probably got some leftover blood to drain. Don't think about how gross it is. Or do, because it's still cool.
Indeed, some things need to be changed. Nixon was immediately dragged through the mud. He used the alcoholism of understanding nothing. I became president in 2000. I thought, okay, nationwide restore relations. We opened the door to Russia.
Look out, everybody! Things are about to get awesome! All burn before the mighty silent trap! Who's there? It's who? Who's there? It's who? Who's there? Well, who? You're dead me.
No, I've talked to my team. No, it's not possible now. You can ask him. I think he will watch our interview.
Just get some more stalker blood and we'll
I
be
wouldn't have said
aces.
anything like that. Okay,
Were you
it's
sincere?
impossible now.
Would you have joined NATO?
Look, I asked the question, is it possible or not? And the answer I got was no. If I was insincere in my desire to find out what the leader's position was...
But if he had said yes, would you have joined NATO?
If he had said yes, the process of rapprochement would have commenced. Eventually, it might have happened if we had ceased to party. But he didn't. Well, no means no. Okay.
Why do you think that is? It's good to know this. I know you're clearly aware about it. But why do you think the West would help you then? Why the hostility? Why did the end of the Cold War not fix the relationship? What motivates this?
You said I was bitter about the answer. No, it's not bitterness.
Just one
It's
more
just
vat of
a
bloody,
statement of
greasy
fact.
stuff and we're
We're
good
not
to go.
bride and groom, bitterness, resentment. It's not about those kind of matters, it's the circumstances. We just realized we weren't welcome here, that's all. Okay, fine. But let's build relations in another manner. Let's look for common ground elsewhere. Why we received such a negative response, you should ask your viewers. I can only guess why. Too big a country, its own opinion, and so on. And the United States, I've seen how issues are being resolved in NATO. I will give you another example now concerning Ukraine. The US leadership exerts pressure, and all NATO members obediently vote, even if they do not like something. Now, I'll tell you what happened in this regard with Ukraine in 2008, although it's being discussed. I'm not going to discuss it. Nevertheless, after that we tried to build relations in different ways. For example, the events in the Middle East and Iraq. Relations with the United States in a very soft, open, cautious manner. I repeatedly raised the issue that the United States should not support separatism or terrorism in the North Caucasus. But they continue to do it anyway. And political support, information support, financial support, even military support came from the United States and its satellites or terrorist groups in the Caucasus. I once raised this issue with my colleague, also the President of the United States. He says, it's impossible. Do you have proof? I said, yes. I was prepared for this conversation, and I gave him that proof. He looked at it, and you know what he said? I apologize, but that's what happened. I'll quote. He says, well, I'm gonna kick their ass. We waited for some response. There was none. I said to the assistant director, write to the CIA, what is the result of the conversation with the President? He wrote once, twice, and then we got a reply. We have the answer in the archive. The CIA replied,
You slash all right.
we have been working with the
We got what
opposition
we
in
need.
Russia.
Woo!
We believe that
Come
this is
on
the
back.
right thing to do, and we will keep on doing it.
You ever see that basketball movie
That's
with the song
ridiculous.
about flying?
Well,
This
okay.
is just like that.
We realized that it was out of the question.
Forces in opposition to you. You're saying the CIA is coming over to your government.
That was of course then that the different case, the separatists.
All right.
Put the wings and lube on that empty rocket chassis.
That's who they call the opposition. This is the second moment. The third moment is very important. It's the moment when the
Wings
U.S.
looking
missile
super
defense
solid.
system
Now
was created.
slap some lube on there and bing
The
bang boom
beginning.
rocket science learning.
We persuaded for a long time not to do it in the United States. Moreover, after was invited by Bush Jr.'s father, Bush Sr., to visit his place on the
Now
ocean.
put the torque brain on this rocket.
I had a
That's
very
our
serious
independent
conversation
variable.
with President Bush and his team. I proposed that the United States, Russia, and Europe join
It's in!
this
Let's go launch the rocket!
threatens our security, despite the fact that the United States officially said that it was being created against
Now
missile
fire
threats
the
from
rocket!
Iran. That was the
Hypothesis?
justification
This will
for
be
the
frickin'
deployment of the
sick!
missile defense system. I suggested working together, Russia, the United States, and Europe. They said it was very interesting. They asked me, "Are you serious?" I said, "Absolutely."
Let me ask, what year was
That
this?
Turk has no idea how to drive.
I don't remember. It is easy to find out on the internet. When I was in the USA at the invitation
That
of
kind
their
of
senior.
sucked. Work rate
It is even easier to learn from someone I'm going to tell you
Just go
about.
kill one of those dog guys and
I
take
was
their
told
mind.
it was very interesting. I said, just imagine if we could tackle such a global strategic security challenge together. The world will change. We'll probably have disputes, probably economic and even political ones, but we could drastically change the situation in the world. He says yes, and asks, are you serious? I said, of course. We need to think about it, I'm told.
Вот в этот кабинет.
I said, go ahead, please. Then Secretary of Defense Gates, former Director of CIA, and Secretary of State Rice came in here, in this cabinet.
Maybe
right
this
here
one.
at this
You
table.
think
They
murder,
sat on
take
this
Marcus
side. Me,
munitions.
the Foreign Minister, the
words
Russian
I say.
Defense
Back
Minister
from
on that
Norway.
side.
A fantastic
to me.
day for capitalism.
Yes, we have thought about it. We agree. I said, thank God, great. But with some exceptions.
So twice you've described U.S. presidents being and then being cut by their agencies. So it sounds
Disgusting. I love it.
That's right. In the end, they just told us to get lost. I'm not going to tell you the details because I think it's incorrect. After
Get ready for some fried crab feast
Our
time.
proposal was declined. It was right then when I said, look, the people will be forced to take increase our We're not doing this against you, but you do what you want. It's against us, not against the United States. I said, okay, very well. That's the way it works. And we can hypersonic systems with intercontinental range. And we continue to develop it. We are now ahead of everyone.
That should pump those brains right out like
I promise. Tell me I'm the prettiest. Who's there? It's you. Hey, Major. Knock, knock. Not until you're older.
2008, at the summit in Bucharest, they declared that the wars for Ukraine and Georgia to join NATO were open. Now the decisions are made. France seems to be against it, as well as some other European countries. But then, as it turned out, guy.
Here comes the pain!
On us.
I died for my squad
Where
mates!
are the guarantees? What kindergarten is this? What kind of people are these? Who are they? You see, they were pressed, they agreed.
Hit me, baby.
Say Ukraine can be, you know? Say, I know you're
I tried!
Well,
My nose!
why won't they press tomorrow? Again. Sensible.
Critter to get the brain.
Skyward!
Already independent sovereign Ukraine, which gained its independence as a By the way, it says that Ukraine is a neutral state. and in 2008, 7 military games were open source. This is not how we agreed. Now, all the presidents that have come to power in Ukraine, they rely on electorate with a good attitude to Russia in one way or the other. This is the southeast of Ukraine. This is a large number of people. It's very difficult.
Turn over here!
Anarchy is Minecraft and awesomeness! Oh my! It's mighty mighty
In 2014.
Holy crap! That worked!
However, his opponents did not recognize that victory.
Up close, Sam! Personal!
And the third round was scheduled
Game face!
Holy my chassis! We're made of recycled human body parts!
Mikhail Yushchenko, who was considered a pro-Western politician, we have built relations with him as well. He came to Moscow.
I'm a robot ninja!
Inside independent Ukraine itself.
Just put me in the right
Things got worse and victory on the Polish came to power afterwards.
One more and we'll have enough.
Maybe he wasn't the best president and
Exactly
politician.
what
I
I
don't
am
know.
talking
I don't
about.
want to give a
Hang on
sense.
back and we'll test the
However,
rocket
the
again.
issue of the association we have always been lenient to this. But when we read through the treaty association, it turned out to be a problem. Trade zones and open customs borders with Ukraine, which under this association we said, no, this is not going to work. We shall close our borders with Ukraine then. The customs borders. Yanukovych started to calculate how much Ukraine was going to gain, how much to lose, and said to his European partners, I need more time to think before signing. The moment he said that, the opposition began to take destructive steps which were supported by the West. It all came down to Maidan and a coup in Ukraine.
So he
Perhaps
did
I
more
should test
trade
one first.
with Russia than with the EU. Ukraine did.
Ну, конечно. Ну, конечно, конечно.
Of course, it's not even the matter of trade volume, although for the most part it is. It is the matter of cooperation ties, which the entire Ukrainian economy was based on.
Someone mazes an epic
Cooperation
gun!
ties between the enterprises were very close since the times of the Soviet Union. One enterprise there used to produce components to be assembled in Russia
All
and
right,
Ukraine
put
and
the
vice
soldier's brain
versa.
in the second
They
rocket.
used to be very close ties. Calm Yanukovych down, and we will calm the opposition.
Now, let's
Let the situation unfold in the scenario of a political settlement. We said, all right, agreed. Let's do it this way.
Oh
the
man,
armed
I hope that
opposition
glass
committed
holds.
a
I
coup
want to
in
learn
Kiev.
stuff. I
What
like
is
the
that
cut of this
supposed to mean?
rocket's jib. Let's
Who do you
split the
think you
difference
are?
though. Combine
I
the
wanted to
soldier
ask
brain and the
then
torque
US
brain in the
leadership.
science blender.
With the backing
Follow
of
me. The blender's over here.
With the backing of CIA, of course. The organization you wanted to join back in the day
Splishy.
as a...
Yeah.
We should thank God they didn't let you in.
Come on.
Although...
Randy. Friggin'
My
experiments
former
are so
vis-a-vis
cool.
in the
That's
sense
too
that I
good to pick
served
up,
in the
though.
first
Shoot it
main
with an ice
directorate,
weapon to get it more
Soviet
solid.
Union's
I
intelligence
stashed a freeze
service.
gun for you because science
They
is
have
all
always
about
been
being
our
prepared and
opponents.
hiding freeze
A
guns
job is a
everywhere.
job.
Bam! I'm smart.
Технически они все
Technically, they did everything right. They achieved their goal of changing the government. However, from political standpoint, it was a colossal mistake. Surely it was political leadership's miscalculation. They should have seen what it would evolve into.
Итак, в 2014
So,
году
in 2008, the doors of NATO were open for Ukraine. In
Perhaps I should test one first.
2014, coup, they started persecuting those who did not accept the coup, and it was indeed a coup.
I'm
They
feeling
created a
it.
threat to
Let's go
Crimea,
pop it in
which
the
we had to
rocket.
take under our protection. They launched the war in Donbass in 2014 with the use of aircraft and artillery against civilians. This is when it falls. They launched then another one. When they failed, they started to prepare the next
Raise it,
one.
one blasto!
All this against the background.
Oh man, it's heading for my house.
Forget the question, but you're not a real scientist, are you?
Yeah! We did it! Screw
How could we
my
not
house!
express concern over what was happening?
Science! Let
From
me
our
give you a
side, this would have
reward.
been a culpable negligence. That's what it would have been.
Вот что это было.
What if dogs could talk?
Просто
It's just that the US political leadership pushed us to the line we could not cross, because doing so would have ruined Russia itself. Besides, we could not leave our brothers in faith, in fact, a part of Russian people, in the face of this war machine.
What was so that was 8 years before the current conflict started. So what was the trigger for you? What was the moment where you decided you had to do this?
ну, спровоцировал конфликт изначально.
Initially, it was the coup in Ukraine that provoked the conflict.
Кстати говоря,
By the way, back then the representatives of 3 European countries, Germany, Poland and France, arrived.
гарантами
They were the guarantors of the signed agreement between the government of Yanukovych and the opposition.
подписи свои.
They signed it as guarantors.
Несмотря на это, оппозиция
Despite that, the opposition committed a coup, and all these countries pretended that they didn't know that they were guarantors of the peaceful settlement.
никто не вспоминает.
They just didn't know this is how it happened.
When you think murder, think Marcus
The US told the opposition authorities and its 3 guarantors, instead of bringing this whole situation back into the political field, supported them. Although it was meaningless, believe me. Because President Yanukovych agreed to all conditions, he was ready to hold an early election which he had no chance of winning by his people. Everyone knew that. Why launch it? This is exactly I think one of the deputy secretaries of state said that it cost a large sum of money, almost $5 billion. The political mistake was colossal. Why did they have to do that? All of this would have been done legally, without victims, without military action, without losing Crimea. We would have never
I'm cloaking. Boom! Let me out! Let me out! So, how about that over 14? Sparkle!
We talked about this all the time. We
Should I just wait or, Oh, quit falling to pieces!
Frankly speaking, these agreements were they elements of Donbass territories in that's true. However, I'm absolutely confident, and I'm saying this to you now. I honestly believe that if we manage to convince the residents of Donbass, and we had to work hard to convince them to return to the Ukrainian statehood, then gradually the rest will start to heal. When this part of territory reintegrated itself into a common social environment, when the tensions and social benefits were fading in, all the pieces will gradually fall into place. Nobody wanted that. Everything was resolved in territory was over.
Can't feel my sorry.
And the situation got to the point when the Ukrainian side realized, no,
Where'd all my bullets go?
thing. They also started preparing for military action. It was they who started the war.
Stop fighting us!
Is to stop this war. And we did not.
Gosh, a challenge!
This is an attempt to stop it.
You think you've stopped it?
No, we haven't achieved our aims yet, because one of them is denazification. This means the prohibition of all kinds of neo-Nazi movements. This is one of the problems that we discussed during the
I expect you to die!
which ended in Istanbul. And it was not our initiative because we were told by the Europeans, in particular, that it was necessary to create conditions for the final signing of the contracts. How can you imagine them signing a treaty if they want contracts? The troops should be pulled back from Kiev. We said, all right, we withdrew the troops from Kiev. As soon as we pulled back our troops from Kiev, our Ukrainian negotiators immediately threw all our agreements reached in Istanbul into the bin and got prepared for a long-standing armed confrontation with the help of the United States and satellites in Europe. That is how the situation has developed, and that is how it looks now.
Да.
But what is, pardon my ignorance, what is denazification? What would that mean? What is,
Да, вот я как раз хочу сейчас об этом сказать. Это очень важный вопрос. Денацификация.
That is what I want to talk about right now. It is a very important issue. Denazification.
Искать, как говорят некоторые.
After gaining independence, Ukraine began to search
And with that, here it is.